Welcome back, everyone, to DreamHack Summer in Jönköping. We're back at round 2 of the Switch format, and we have seen Game B in round 1, which was lost by Orange. We had to correct this because actually it's Orange who won the game. We had the camera swapped. Well, it happens. We were just gonna say it right now. Orange won that game instead of Zyrus, so he's 1-0 in the lead after round 1, and he will be playing now in the winners, let's say, portion of round 2. With me, again, Lorinda, but first time joining the desk today is Firebet. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a little bit of a fiasco trying to find clothes to wear. Brought the wrong attire here, but we did it.
Hey, so you look pretty neat. Smart.
Pretty neat, too. Smart. It's an interesting adjective for clothes.
Do you want me to leave you two to this?
I did. It was going very well. I liked it.
It was going well. I think you're in there.
Yeah. I think I have a shot.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Go for it, man.
Go for it later?
Yeah, get a beer later.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, good one. But what do you think about the Swiss format in general? I like to ask that everyone that is on the desk.
The Swiss format in general, it is, like, I would say, the most optimal format for finding the people that have, like, the best win rates and all of that. The tiebreakers can be a bit disappointing. There's a lot of people that can go 7-2, for example, that just don't make it because they got a loss early on, which is kind of sad, but you know, when you have to cut the top 16, you have to do it somehow, and it's way better than single elimination, that's for sure.
And double elimination as well, because you have more fair pairing, right? You don't have like a double limb bracket. You lose round 1, and now you have to win 9 or 10 instead of 5, and still meet like top players because they were unlucky in one match.
Sure.
I tend to think that slots 9 to 16 are like, if you're in those, you're lucky anyway, because lots of things cut to top 8. So if you're worrying about not getting the tiebreakers into the extra slots, just do better.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Since you're playing against people with similar scores, you can really see how meta trends start happening, because people with better scores often bring very similar decks. So if you're a player that actually cracked the meta, you don't have to worry as much about some random guy playing, you know, awful decks that are terrible for the meta, just destroying your record halfway through the tournament.
Yeah, that's true. Unless it happens round 1.
Unless it happens round 1.
Right,
There's always
the thing,
dodgy round 1 thing going on, but as soon as you get through that, then it begins to pan its way out.
Something that is possible is actually in Swiss when there's like a ranking of pro players or people that are doing well in like, you know, tournaments before. They can be seeded in round 1 as well. But so far we have the random round 1, and that's how it is.
Something at this particular tournament, though, for people at home, a lot of these tournaments like Insomnia, whatever, you get a lot of locals. Here, there are only 42 of the 200 from Sweden, and 23 of those are on teams.
Okay.
So there's like 19, as you would call it, randoms. Sorry to the good players here who are on teams, but there's not many players that have just come from DreamHack and go, oh, I fancy playing some Hearthstone. These are proper players.
That happened during the first Grand Prix. We had still some players just attending the DreamHack because they are here. But in general, people are going here with the you know, intention to play in a high-skilled tournament. Interesting fact is also that we have 200 players here in the venue, but there were 20 players on the wait list.
Right, and there were people here last night saying, I've got my team here, we're hoping to play tomorrow. I don't know if those guys got in or not, but they're turning up because DreamHack's so good. If you end up chilling at DreamHack, that's not a bad second prize. But they're hoping to get in. They've come with the intention of playing if people don't turn up.
Yeah, that's true. But also, first match of round 2 will be Gaara versus Sjow. Sjow actually did get a bye in round 1, so he's starting fresh, completely fresh. He didn't play a single game yet in the tournament. He was playing against Gaara, who is also not a Grand Prix champion, but a first DreamHack champion in Bucharest in 2014 in March.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago. The meta has shifted from that point. It's kind of like a totally different game from there, but he's shown that he is a competitive player. He can compete at the highest level and doesn't lose his head under pressure. He always, back in the day, brought really creative and innovative decks. And even that tournament, he won it with just like one of the first iterations of Ramp Druid with like faceless manipulators in it and just crazy stuff. So hopefully we get to see some wild stuff from Gaara.
But we're playing in Standard this time.
Okay, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's really a bad joke to use, but I couldn't use it.
Sure. You've got to use bad jokes. That's what we're here for, man.
That's what we're here.
Exactly. I think one of us would have taken it otherwise.
Yeah, nobody can resist.
All right, well, Sjow, a known streamer, playing for Team Liquid nowadays for actually a very long time. I think like at least a year.
maybe even longer than that, yeah.
Yeah, so he's tied to the host logo, and he's doing really well lately. He was tryharding in HCT points. He was really playing a lot of open cups, winning those as well. So he's doing pretty well in competitive aspect, which is not something you always consider when you think about those, you know, known streamers, right? People kind of, it's like a running joke.
Are you trying to fire shots right now? Is that? Okay, I see. All right.
You're the one that said the 2014 meta was different game to what it is today.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of firing shots at myself, I guess.
that was like a shrapnel.
Yeah, just half a shot. Just
setting them up.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't think of when I actually saw Sjow in like a high-stake tournaments before. I think it was last DreamHack here.
No, no, he was at the Winter Championships.
Oh, yeah, right.
This year, yeah. He got eliminated by Nyria in the top 8.
So his teammate.
But his teammate, yeah. So he was actually super close being able to just make it through that. So
he grabbed second at Seat Story as well, I think,
right
recently.
That.
So he's on a tear, and he's gone the other way. A lot of streamers do well to start with and then start saying, well, I'd rather get the viewers, I'll be more entertaining. Sjow went from being an entertaining type streamer into, you know what, I'm good at this game. Let's see what I can do in the tough world of competitive Hearthstone.
He kind of goes on little spurts,
yes.
right? Like he like does all in on streaming for a little while and doesn't really compete too much during that period, or if he does, it's not as try hard as when he's really trying to compete. And then whenever he tries to compete, he always does well. He's just never been the guy that's like racking up tons of first places. He gets top 8s, he gets top 4s, second places, like you said at Seat Story, but
I'm gonna stop you right here because we have the pick and bans.
Oh, here we go.
Seems good.
Now we can actually get into it. So we have Double Warrior, as expected, very popular, and Shaman, Double Shaman again. We've been seeing Double Shaman very often, right? Like the first matches, everyone's been bringing Shaman to everything lately. It's been a class that at the beginning of the Un'Goro metagame, no one was bringing. Now everyone is bringing.
Yeah, so in the beginning they were, because it looked like elementals were good, but it soon died out after like 2 weeks, and like you say, they just went missing.
Servant of Kalemos is still one of my favorite cards from the elemental like theme, but they just seem to be too slow.
Oh, way too slow, way too slow.
Do you think it will come back though if metas slow down? Will you start getting the value from
maybe
those
next
again?
expansion?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you always have to check for elementals, but the thing that makes Shaman so strong, especially in a last year standing format like this, is it's got such powerful tools against aggro. You can shut them down with Devolve, Maelstrom Portal, Jade Claws, and at the same time, those Jade mechanics are so good versus control. So you get the ability to shut down 2 different archetypes. You can beat aggro and control. So it's really hard to kind of counterplay into Shaman. It doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. There's a lot of broad matchups across the board.
So if that's the case, is that something you would open with and try and sweep? Is that being last hero standing? I know in Conquest it doesn't matter so much, but in last hero standing, does that set up your lineup?
It is one of the ways you can do that, but if you're trying to set up your lineup with it, then it becomes predictable.
Sure.
Which then becomes a problem, and a lot of players also use it as a hard counter to Paladin, just because Devolve and Hex are so incredibly strong versus Paladin. So it depends what they're trying to do with it in the lineup, but it is definitely a possibility for sure. I'd say you'd have to kind of weight their chances of what they're going to open with and weight Shaman a little bit higher just because it is so versatile. All
right. Well, that concludes the analytic portion before the match. We're going to jump into the game right away after this short message. Don't go anywhere. Gaara versus Sjow coming right up.
Apparently so. Hi guys, nothing to see here. How you going, Firebut?
I'm going pretty well.
Quick, distract them.
Excited for the match.
So who do you think is favoured these days, given that what we've said, that Gaara's been there, done it in the past, but these days, I think he makes a lot of content still.
Right.
Sjow, is he on a try-hard mode, or is he in a streaming mode?
He's on a try-hard mode. He almost made it to Shanghai, so he is gunning to try and make something happen here. I expect him to do very well.
Home turf as well.
Home turf as well. So that's a little bit of an advantage. Gaara's had to travel not too far. No, he didn't come over from the States or nothing. But,
you know, nice journey, easy journey.
No, it's a terrible journey. It's awful, jet-lagged like crazy. But, you know, Gaara's not, so that's going in his favor for sure. But still, I'd have to kind of give it towards Sjow. I don't really know what decks they're playing. Like, we can see the classes, but it's not a lot of information.
Not like the good old days where it's like, oh, he's playing Druid. I wonder what that could be.
Yeah, because the Un'Goro meta is so vast, it could really be anything. So, judging on just by players and their recent performances, I would have to give the edge to Sjow.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that. He got his first esports cash in 2004.
In StarCraft.
In Warcraft 3 2v2s.
Wow.
Even before his StarCraft
He did
days.
the whole StarCraft thing.
So yeah, if you were born on that day, you'd be 12, by the way.
So Sjow's old. What are you trying to poke fun at his age, trying to get yourself another...
Hey, yeah, trying to get myself off the hook. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Another old guy on the circuit.
All right, so it looks like the warrior from Sjow is the taunt warrior. He's choosing to open up with that, and it's going up against the paladin from Gaara. We see Elise the Trailblazer in the hand for Gaara, kind of a wacky card. Means it's probably leaning towards more of a control-y, slower-based paladin. Also, Stampeding Kodo is... It's seen in both forms of paladin, but more often seen in the control-ier versions.
Sjow made his name originally by being warrior god. I know this isn't really a control warrior as such, but it's slower than average decks.
He's definitely a very strong warrior player. He plays a lot of warrior, probably not as much as Fibonacci. You know, Fibonacci played over 20,000 games, but Sjow's up there for sure. Back in those days, he was very good at
20,000 wins was that?
20,000 wins.
Yeah, so he played 21,000 games.
Right.
Because he wins them all.
Oh, no, it's something even larger than that, but yeah. So Sjow, I imagine, I haven't seen his warrior wins, but we'll have to ask him about that later. I guarantee you it's probably above 10,000 warrior
Yeah, I'd agree
wins.
with
This guy
that.
plays a lot of warrior. But this matchup in particular, the control paladin up against the taunt warrior, is a matchup a lot of players have kind of debated for a while. They don't really... Some players believe the paladin's favored. Some players believe that the taunt warrior can still get an edge and close it out.
Yeah, doing my research beforehand, I haven't played a huge amount of control paladin, but I had it down as about 50-50 from watching, from researching, from playing bits. And I just feel that it's all about how the brawls operate. If the paladin can use really bad minions to force a brawl out early, it seems to put them in a better position.
Yeah, one of the weird things about Brawl that a lot of people don't really think about when you think about Taunt Warrior, you assume Brawl is like defensive so that you can complete the quest. Well, in all of the slower matchups, the idea behind Brawl actually is damage. Your deck is a combo deck. You get your quest completed, and then Brawl, instead of being used defensively, can be used to guarantee 8 damage a lot of the time.
Right.
So if you can guarantee 8 damage twice, you have 8 damage from the weapon, suddenly that's 24 of the Paladin's 30 life. So you can really turn on the heat and use Taunt Warrior as an aggressive deck if your opponent goes very slowly against you, which is why it can be pretty well performing against control decks.
It also seems interesting to me that chip damage is more relevant in this matchup than most. If you can get yourself into a position where, obviously you always want to be in a position where you're setting up lethal.
Right.
In this particular match, you're just going to do that really slowly.
Yeah.
But if you can set yourself up so either the opponent is on 10 or 8 as the magic numbers warrior, it gives you so many more options to set up that lethal, make your opponent be inefficient.
Sure. Force them to be able to hold back things like N'Zoth if we see it. We don't know yet if that's going to be there, but yeah, just restrict what they can do is always insane. But Gaara having both of these Stampeding Kodos is a very key card for this matchup.
Right, so why would that be? How does that work? Just because all the taunt minions are so small, I assume.
Right,
so
yeah.
you don't need to use Aldor.
You can combo with Aldor later, but some of the 5-drops, even you look at Ali Armorsmith, if they play Ali Armorsmith on 5, then you respond with Kodo on 5. That's a pretty big tempo swing.
So there's matchups within matchups here. You're trying to force out those key cards, get the Kodo onto something else so you can sneak down the alley. So there'll be all these little battles going on that add up to the final result.
Exactly.
And then all of the time that clock is ticking in favor of Sjow, because if Gaara messes about, you just get hero power and get massive card advantage.
And then later on, though, the weird thing is the clock kind of switches because eventually the Taunt Warrior runs out of cards.
Yeah.
So then the Paladin hero power starts to overcome, and just the amount of board flood Paladin can produce. So it's really an interesting one with a lot of switches back and forth. But from the start, the main goal of Sjow here, complete the quest as fast as possible. The main goal of Gaara, make Brawl happen.
Make Brawl happen and make Brawl not happen, varying. Yeah, so you didn't put yourself on the spot. You did the caster thing and saying other people have said. Who do you think's favored in this matchup?
Who do I think's
Which
favored?
deck?
I would lean towards Control Paladin. I think they have the tools to be able to get the win done. I think it's kind of tough for the Warrior to line up. I can see how the Warrior can get all of the damage to line up.
Right.
It's just like too ideal of circumstances to happen as consistently as people say it will.
Always seems interesting to me when you get these relatively new matchups. I mean, these decks have both been around a long time, but the control meta is, what, 3 weeks old as a meta? Maybe 4?
Yeah.
You don't get a chance to play test these as much as you get. You can play test aggro druid versus token shaman
all day on ladder.
Yeah, do it one day and you're done. You know the matchup.
Yeah.
You can, if you play testing this with friends, you're taking 40 minutes a game if you're talking it through, working everything out.
It's just those little intricacies that really tip the tides of it. Because in the beginning of this matchup, when Control Paladin was first becoming popular in the metagame, everyone was like, oh yeah, Control Paladin always wins. They never lose. And now it's 50-50 somehow. So you can see how people like start adapting to the threats they're being played against and figuring out how to counter things.
And that was the same with the original Murloc Paladin against the original Control Warrior,
right, yep.
which Murloc Paladin always won.
And then
Kalento just killed everybody the other way. It's like, what?
And they figured out that you could do the whole like Sludge Belcher Brawl thing and start figuring out ways to shut down Murloc combo because there's a limited amount of attack.
And suddenly the deck couldn't win.
Right.
It went from like 90% to like 15 or something absolutely insane just because people played it enough to realize, hang on, there's this trick you can do.
Little intricacies make all the difference, and they're oftentimes pretty difficult to find. But the biggest intricacies in this one is just figuring out ways you can save your resources as the Taunt Warrior, not over-clearing, so that you can set up later on to make every time you clear the board, you hit him in the face for 8. And then you don't have to rely on the RNG of the hero power at all, because the whole board gets cleared 8 every time. So if you use your Sleep at the Fishes, you use your Brawls early, that's not going to happen, and you're going to get lucky with your rag shots. So it's all about resource management and holding back crucial cards.
And then you've got to use, obviously, the resources of your minions just to kill little things you can. Again, as Gaara, you have that infinite resource of your hero power from turn 1. You don't have to set it up. You can just threaten with dudes, but they get cleared pretty easily these days.
Yeah, lots of low effects and whatnot. 2 out of 7 on the quest. Not making all that quick of progress, but having the Curator always helps. He's not going to play that Alley Armor Smith. That is a scary card to drop. Yeah. He can't really afford the tempo loss of the Kodo coming down here, so that's why he chooses this 5-drop instead.
Yeah, plus you want to get the extra part into your deck anyway, just to populate as many taunts as possible, a little bit behind with the quest. Like you say, Curator will sort that out. And this is the weird thing that I always enjoy watching the hand size in this match, as the Warrior slowly runs out of hand, but it has this implied hand size involved in that quest where suddenly you're just going to get a card every turn by pressing a hero power button.
Right. So, but it does eventually just get outboarded and run out of
time.
So, yeah, it's really tough to keep up with Paladin for value. Gaara has a few bits of decisions here. He wants to try and figure out, is it worth committing the tempo for Tarim? Is it worth trying to go for the resource play of maybe just playing out the Curator this turn? He doesn't appear to be getting a beast off of it because he has the 2 Kodos in his hand already. Maybe he only runs 1 Drake, so the Curator might not even draw him a card. So he is committing here with the full tempo play. Trades in the taunt minion correctly instead of the non-taunt so that you can kind of neutralize Sjow's War Axe, giving it only the 3/7 to swing at rather than a 3/3.
Keeping the War Axe out of the game. That Tarim is a bold play though, right? This early on, it's something you could have used later to maybe turn your 1/1s into bigger threats. But if you feel they're never going to stick, I guess you get it over with.
It's aggressive for sure. He's definitely pushing. He could have just, as you said, built up a board of small creatures that didn't matter and forced Sjow to have to board clear that because of the threat of Tarim. And I think he's heavily weighted by the fact that Tarim's from Stonehill Defender and he has another. So he's like, well, another one's coming later on, so I might as well try and pressure with this one, try and slow Sjow down, make him have to react. But if Gaara can't put up enough pressure to force some board clear to happen, Sjow's going to have all of the tools to connect his hero power later on, and that's going to be bad news.
And these turns are slow because all the things we're talking about here are going through their head every turn, reminding themselves, adjusting to what's happened, even those small changes, like you say, you don't want to miss something that could just be game-breaking. As simple as like that taunt last turn. If you let it get hit with your War Axe, it could lose you the game.
And Gaara has the option here to go full tempo. He could Aldor coin Kodo. It's an inefficient use of a Kodo and an inefficient use of an Aldor, but it would allow him to have an overwhelming amount of board presence and potentially start forcing out some of those clears. Once you can get all the clears out of Sjow, then his hero power almost never connects with your face because your board's going to be completely flooded. While he could also try and take this slower, not use the Kodo. It's a tough call.
I think he almost set his stall out last turn when he went with a Tarim there, even though you say it came from the Stonehill. He went with the decision, I'm going to be the aggressor in this match. And Sjow, with his warrior experience, doesn't seem to be at all flustered by this, just taking it in his stride and like, these aren't going to kill me, seems to be the attitude.
Well, he doesn't even have an option.
That's also true.
Yeah, he is kind of limited in options, but having the Primordial Drakes here is fantastic. He can use them as a board clear. He takes a bit of damage in the meantime, but his health should be relatively stable.
Right.
The one issue is you can get burned out after you complete the quest. Tyrion Tyrion is a heck of a card and allows the Paladin to really pressure you later on after the quest has been completed. So you lose your ability to gain life once you complete that quest, and that can be a bit scary. Yeah,
that's one of the things that factors into a lot of the mulligan decisions I'm sure we'll talk about later in the day against other matchups as well. And as to how you use that quest and how you get rid of your valuable health total. That's one of the key cards for the Warriors. Well, I actually thought the quest wouldn't be that good. I was wrong, but hey, my read of the situation was losing the hero power would be too much too often.
So Gaara wants to try and maintain as much board presence as possible, while also trying to not overextend into second Primordial Drake, Sleep with the Fishes, or Ghoul/Whirlwind effects. So I imagine he wants to just equip the True Silver, take this down, maybe utilize both of the 3/1s. He could even try and use Forbidden Healing for a little bit of additional tempo behind this. Maybe heal up one of his minions to make it a little bit harder to remove.
Yeah, he's going to draw more healing by the time he needs more healing, you would think, a lot of the time, so protecting a minion makes a lot of sense to me.
If you have enough tempo, you don't need any healing.
Well, if you win the game,
fantastic, yeah. So you want to try and avoid that. I wouldn't mind seeing him heal up the Sunkeeper Tarim to try and play around the second Drake here. Like hero power, Forbidden Healing the Sunkeeper Tarim. And if second Drake comes down, now the War Axe can't connect with your Tarim.
Interesting, when the second Drake does come down, that's going to be two of the, I mean, it's not a whirlwind, but two of the AoE effects done. Obviously, if Gaara can suck those all out of Sjow's hand as well, then he can just go wild with the hero power. So another thing that isn't a total disaster if this comes down.
He's holding back the Forbidden Healing. Thinks he might need it later on. Doesn't value it too much on the Tarim. So he says it's not worth enough tempo to commit such a powerful card, because Forbidden Healing, those zero-costing cards, can be as powerful as you have the mana to invest for.
Yeah, interesting to see whether he saves it for his face later just to make Sjow miscalculate, or whether he saves it for a minion to keep future tempo coming as this game progresses slowly but surely.
So Sjow has a Sleep with the Fishes he could utilize to try and clear, but I don't really like it too much. I think it's a better resource to have saved.
I mean, it's so good in combo with the other cards in your deck later on, and again, under no immediate threat of dying. He has got to clear things, though. His health total's getting low. He's got to be a bit careful.
You always got to worry about how low can I really go. And one of the big questions about how low can you go is, do you run any sort of weapon removal? If Sjow has no weapon removal in his deck, then Tyrion's going to connect for 15 throughout the course of the game. So staying above that crucial number of 15 is very important. And judging by the play here where he utilizes the Sleep with the Fishes like this, I would assume he has no weapon removal in his Taunt Warrior deck.
Yeah, he's also chose this time to get down the Ali Armorsmith, so a feeling of him that he's going to sneak this down now. He's seen one of the Kodos go. Maybe he can get 4, even 6 from this. We can see Gaara must be immensely tempted just to blow it up and then not worry about them for the rest of the game.
It is interesting. I wonder why he chose that specific taunt. I think he's really encouraging a Kodo to happen. He just wants not Tyrion to happen, I assume.
Right.
Yeah, so he doesn't mind if a Kodo happens, because then that kind of limits what Gaara can do with his mana. The Control Paladin deck has almost no 4-drops. It usually just runs 2 True Silvers in the 4-mana slot. So Gaara's play would be Kodo plus hero power, which, although it is getting the Kodo value that Gaara wants, it's not exceptionally powerful tempo-wise, because there's no big threat coming down. There's no Tyrion. So you can see Sjow nodding his head a little bit. He's happy that that Kodo came down. He wanted that to happen so he could set up for his next turns.
Yeah, now he's seen both Kodos. What I was talking about the other way around, both Kodos are gone. Now he can run riot with his taunts fairly freely, knowing that, hey, now you've got to start using your qualities or your consecrations or your combo removal. And obviously on some of these minions, you just don't want to use that.
Yeah, and you can see the Primordial Drake from the far left of Sjow's hand. He planned this, wanted Kodo hero power to happen. Kodo hero power happens, gets the full board clear while completing the quest.
And he's got more cards in hand than Gaara. That's
interesting,
unusual, right?
Well, I mean, it's because Gaara couldn't get any Curator value. He chose Primordial Drake and then both of his Stampeding Kodos, so his Curator got no value, whereas on the other hand, Sjow's Curator got max value.
How valuable are the Armorsmiths in this matchup going forward? We talked about the chip damage. Does that mean they're pretty valuable as well, just the regular Armorsmiths?
They're definitely valuable to help you heal after you complete the quest. Once that Ashbringer does so much damage, and oftentimes it can connect every time because Gaara can Quality Consecrate, hit you with Ashbringer. You build another Wall of Taunts, Quality Consecrate, hit you with Ashbringer, and you need to have a health total outside that range. Having Armorsmith down once you take that big board makes you way less vulnerable to those equality clears because you gain so much armor during them.
And I assume that he's saving it now so that he can play 2 at a time should the opportunity to come up in those situations as well.
That would be ideal for sure. Or just whenever he's got, you know, some trades on board that he can take, and the ability to gain a little bit of armor is fantastic. He's pretty healthy right now. Being at 15 is where you want to be. You want to be like 15 to 18 range is very comfortable for the Taunt Warrior, I'd say, to close out the game. So I would say he's in a commanding position to be able to take this one. Interesting here that Gaara is being forced into playing the Doomsayer, even though like a tempo turn for Sjow almost is just a quip.
Yeah, right. Like if it hits the Doomsayer, so be it. If it hits you in the face, so be it. The only bad option is hitting the Curator, really. But Gaara's been forced into this position to try and get hold of that tempo because of how far behind he is in value. Exactly. He couldn't really afford to just hero power that turn. Needs to try and force Sjow to have to do something, and kind of succeeds, but it's not looking too fantastic. Yeah, Sjow making the read there, basically. If Gaara wants to clear this board, he must have a good backup play next turn. So let's keep our stuff on the board, make sure he can't do that big turn and ruin me with it. Lay on Hands is an incredibly powerful card in control matchups, allowing you to gain that card advantage. He's taking a little bit of heat if he uses it here, but it would allow him to probably dig closer to cards that could maybe make something happen. He needs to have the tempo swing of the Pyro Equality, but then he also needs to repopulate the board afterwards. Otherwise, he's going to be stuck back in the same exact situation when Sjow re-extends. So he can't really afford to equality clear this. He needs to find more gas to make something happen. Can he, because I always find getting the timing of Lay on Hands to be very difficult. You'd like to have the board, but if you've got the board, you don't need the cards anyway, because you already got the board. Could he play the equality now in advance? And then just Lay on Hands equality now, get this board small? Or is he just too worried about what Sjow adds afterwards? Yeah, you can't equality here. Sjow has 5 cards in his hand. You know one of them is Silverus, so you can kind of eliminate one, but you're hoping that of those 4 cards, that not 2 of them are minions. So you have to just kind of Lay on Hands, look for your reload, and then try and do it all at once if possible. But a bunch of weapons is not a good way to reload during your Pyro Equality clear. Exactly the opposite of what you said he needed to find from that dig there. He needed to find some of the cheaper stuff and just nothing to put down there. Even a Stegodon or something would help. Right. That would be perfect, actually. Yeah, if he could get the Stegodon. But he's going to be probably forced into a situation where he's got an Equality Primordial Drake and take the 50-50 on the hero power. But when your 8-drop gets cleared for 2 mana, that feels really sad. Yeah, you don't even lose a card. It's just the 2 mana. Also, he almost dies if it doesn't. So, yeah, it's got to be a Quality Primordial Drake. You hope it hits you in the face, and then you maybe extend Rag Lightlord and try and stabilize from that point. But if you just Pyro Equality, you don't have enough stuff on the board. So you could try and maybe use this Forbidden Healing now. Go with a Pyro Equality Forbidden Healing kind of play, but I don't think it's strong enough. I think you have to take the flip on your 4/8 living, and it opens yourself up to Execute being lethal against you. It opens yourself up to some sort of Brawl shenanigans being lethal for sure, but I think it's a risk you have to take in this scenario. Also, just looking here at the double Bloodhoof Whirlwind setup as well. That's another board that the Sjow can make at some point if Gaara does go too all in on just clearing stuff. But Gaara's got bigger things to worry about at the moment. He's going with the Pyro Heal. Yep. This gives out more targets for the Rag Shot to potentially hit. A little bit worse against Whirlwind. Swinging with the weapon since he has so many weapon charges in hand makes sense. Oh no, you can't even squeeze in the hero power with it. So it doesn't. He didn't choose to squeeze in the hero power. Well, because it would die. Because it would have died. Yeah. I actually went through that in my head and decided not to say it out loud. Just once in my life. I had to say it. I had to be the one. Yeah. Just because the interaction, of course, with the Forbidden Healing using up all the mana, you can't order it to work. Right, another weapon for Sjow means he can be a bit loose with this Sulfuros if he wants to guarantee some 8s. So he could just use up a Whirlwind if he wants to, possibly in conjunction with the Bloodhoof, just to make another 5/5. Double Bloodhoof, swing at the guy, hero power, seems like a fantastic way to kill your opponent. Yeah, you're putting 18 out there. Right, and he's at 17, so the numbers, they check out. Right, extra weapon in hand, that means you get rid of the annoying 1/1s. That doesn't work. Yeah, I think, see, this is why I think you had to take the gamble with the Primordial Drake. It's like, if you don't, what do you expect to happen? Your opponent needs minions to be able to beat you from that position, so I think it's like overly safe, but Okay, so even though he seems to be getting out of range in terms of health, it's going to keep coming at you, and he hasn't got any way to stop it for the time being.
And that brawl is going to be like almost a guaranteed hit in the future because the War Axe can clean up the small minion that lives through the brawl, and then the 8 can go to the face.
Just say that till the very end of the game, most likely.
Just adding more and more damage to Sjow's hand. He's a little bit worried about second equality, so he doesn't want to overextend minions into that. He does kind of need to kill this Rag Light Lord. And he wants to try and save this Whirlwind if possible for the Sleep with the Fishes. He still has a second one of those, as well as Executes remaining in the deck.
Quite a few problems to solve this turn for him then.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's going to trade into the 1/1, freeing up the Sulfuris so he can see what happens. But no, he's going to go for the massive damage instead. I like this better.
If you miss with the Bloodhoof, or if you miss with the Rag Hero Power, you need to trade in a Bloodhoof that's enraged in the War Axe charge. So... Right,
of course, now the Ragnos is injured as well, so now you can ignore it. It's 50-50. It doesn't even heal your face anymore.
Now you're causing a lot of 50-50s, though. This is some shenanigans that could run you into trouble. Because at this point, you don't have a Whirlwind effect to punish if Gaara has second equality Consecrate. Like, then the Rag Light Lord heals his face every time. He clears the board. He's out of range because you only have 11.
Yeah, and the Rag goes to 1 health, you're saying, because that becomes its maximum health.
Yeah, which is its maximum health, and then it heals him. So this is I'd say a very risky play by Sjow there, leaving this Rag Light Lord up in a game that seems rather won already. But when they don't have the second equality, which Gaara doesn't have good odds, then you just win, right? So, but a bit of a gamble there from Sjow. I guess he felt out Gaara's hand, identified, you know what, he probably doesn't have the equality. Let's just do it. Worst case, he's at 12. I have 11 damage, and his Light Lord's at 1. So it's not that bad, even if it backfires.
Yeah, you still got the brawl and the weapon combo you were talking about. There needs to be a lot of things happen here for Gaara to be able to get out of this. And Sjow just calculated in his mind that, you know what, they can't all. There's a very strong chance they won't happen. Never say can't.
Well, the attempt at stabilization.
Yeah, so he's going to go with the put as many things on the board as possible and hope play, which is the right play.
That's all you can do.
But brawl is in hand, so it's going to be at least another 50-50 for Sjow. Okay, so part 1 works for Gaara though, anyway.
Sjow has 14 damage a lot of the time.
So may not even see the brawl here, might just see him tidy up bits and pieces. He's got quite nice trades if he wants them. Yeah, the trades look very good, very appealing for sure. It's awkward about this Light Lord though. You don't want to have to expend and execute on it, or do you? Because you're running out of Whirlwind effects, right? So maybe this is the best the execute's going to do. So if you use the execute, you get to save the brawl and you get a 50-50. So you're changing execute at the point to be what 4 damage or something plus a brawl anyway, yeah.
Right, yeah, so you take the trade with the 5-5 into a 3-3, trade the 1-1, execute, and then you're setting up the 50-50 that way.
Yeah, we said at the start you want as many brawls as possible at the end. Well, 3's a good number.
Sure, yeah.
Let's go with that.
This way he's trying to guarantee or increase the odds of it hitting a minion.
Yep.
And then so he can push the 5. So he like net loses a little bit of damage, but it doesn't actually matter.
And that's setting out the long game, right? That's setting out, you know what? I could just keep killing minions all day, then I win the game eventually. Obviously, he wants to get it. He doesn't mind if it goes face, but clearing up these minions, saving that brawl, save the execute would have been a nice bonus.
If he would have traded, and then it would have went face, then 1 rag shot going to the face would have been lethal.
Yeah.
So missing that 3 damage there is a little awkward, but it's only a 50-50 to be able to do that. Otherwise, it full clears. Not so sure I actually like it as much, but. Now, Storm Warrior plays at the end are super interesting, right? People say, you know, it all comes down to coin flips or whatever, but you can set up a lot of different coin flips to use different resources.
How many coins can you get yourself to flip?
Yeah.
That's the question, right?
Yeah, you have to figure them out and save the crucial resources, but yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, like you say, it's just really complicated how you get those extra flips. The problem is that people watching tend to just see the flips. They don't see the setup a lot of the time. Obviously, in major events, when you've got amazing casters like our good selves, then you're fine.
Terrific. Amazing. Show's starting to run out of steam here. He needs to try and connect 2 rag shots now. And it's going to be very difficult for him to do that. Gaara, although, is very limited on healing at the moment, so... Wow, there's one.
There's the first one.
Go. Yeah. Now you have the Brawl to try and shore up the second one a lot of the time. The Spike Ridge Steed's a bit of a problem. It has the Death Rattle, so there's going to be a Stegodon you have to deal with.
Which that's really interesting as well, because it might mean you want as few things on the board as possible when you Brawl, not the most, because you want the Stegodon thing to win.
Sure.
So after the Brawl, you actually get the 50-50, not the 1 in 3, which is rather unusual. Not going to happen, though. The Ivory Knight picked up here by Gaara. Going to help him populate the board and possibly get him out of range, although...
Only Dino size?
Yeah.
Otherwise, he could get Holy Light. It's not too bad. And a few other things like Forbidden Healing are okay.
This card, since anything has rotated out, has always seemed a bit sad to me.
Yeah, because you can't get the Big 10.
You can't get the Big 10, and I know, just in general, the choices seem to be far worse for Paladin spells. Otherwise, if they were good, we'd have, like, the last Kaleidosword decks floating around everywhere.
There's a lot of Paladin, like, one-costing cards, especially the secrets that are generally not what you want to discover off your 6-mana 4/4.
Yeah, you don't mind discovering them off your 2-mana 2/2, and then getting another one back on turn 3, but on turn 7 or turn 17 or whatever this is right now, nowhere near as good.
He could try and go for the eye for it.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Just set up the weird situation that sometimes happens where, okay, I'm going to lose, so are you.
Right, yeah.
Let's do it all again.
Could have went for the tie, but takes the Holy Light. He's going to try and heal his way out of this. He thinks he's still going to be able to win this. Brawl, Ghoul, Hero Power, pretty solid. If the 5/3 lives, then there's a 50-50 for lethal. If the 1/1 lives, then you play the Ghoul, and now it's a 50-50 for lethal. If the 4/4 lives, you're sad.
Then you just win the 1 in 3.
And then you win the 1 in 3. So I think this is one of the better opportunities you have to use it.
I think he would just be working out the making sure that that's the right ordering, because you can Ghoul first and then...
Wow, that makes it way worse.
Exactly, it definitely does, but we're not sat there under the pressure of the cameras in round 2 of the Swiss, so you just got 70 seconds, just check you're not doing something stupid.
Take your time, count on your fingers. I always count on my fingers in major tournaments.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And that's it. He lands the shot and manages to get those coins to 50-50. He manages to go 1-0 in this best of 5 at last hero standing.
Yeah, taking out a matchup that at one point everyone believed Control Paladin was favored. Taunt Warrior had no chance, and slowly that opinion has been changing, and Sjow reinforcing that change.
I felt like Sjow set his stall out very early on to know what he was doing, just defended all that removal, seemed to be a thing that he was trying to do, whereas Gaara went for the tempo, but quite early on he ran out of steam, and it looked like he wasn't going to be able to force that tempo through. It
was a bit awkward with his draws, right? He wasn't able to get the draw off the Curator, which hurt him a lot, and then he went with the tempo plan, and then his top decks after he started going for tempo was like consecrate, consecrate.
Yeah, lay on hands into weapon.
So the draws were really not lining up for Gaara to be able to pressure his opponent, and he wasn't able to adapt with those draws to really make anything happen because he was too deep in to be like, all right, let's transition to outlast his hand game plan now, right?
Right.
So, but if he was able to pick up Tyrion, I think he had a very reasonable chance of shutting down that game, but wasn't able to happen. And Gaara queues up into his opponent. This is last year's standing, so Sjow's deck remains while Gaara's deck is eliminated, as you can see there in red, the Paladin. And now Gaara gets to choose the deck he feels is the strongest against his opponent's deck. And he's chosen the Taunt Warrior mirror. So if Sjow is able to take this one, you have to believe he's very favored to make it 3-0.
So Gaara's other deck is the Shaman, which you'd now anticipate just being a evolved Shaman from this spot, I would think.
Definitely not a Jade Shaman with Spirit Echo sort of shenanigans.
Exactly, because you'd fancy you'd queue that up. Now, you don't always queue the immediate best match, but you normally do. That's the easy way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, you should. You don't want to just give your opponent
sometimes
free win.
You look into the future and think, well, actually, I need to. I've got 40% with this and 50 with this. I need to save the counter. But in this situation,
also,
that is a bit of a tip. That is the
Gaara, I believe, is going to be favored in this match because, well, he just Dirty Ratted a Stonehill Defender. That's like removing 2 taunts from Show's hand, but he's running Dirty Rats. We didn't see any Dirty Rats in the deck from Sjow. We saw 26 or so of the cards from his deck, so Dirty Rat is one of the cards that can really swing this matchup. It's a taunt for you that's very inexpensive to play, and it removes a taunt from your opponent a lot of the time, making their quest harder to complete. And Taunt Warrior is not really designed to have extra taunts to spare.
Right,
It needs all of its taunt to kind of complete the quest. So
yeah, when you mull the quest, you don't complete it very often. Even if you get into that situation later where you could, you just don't have enough stuff. And this is like a 3 taunt swing.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. So Gaara's off to a really big early lead. The most important thing in this matchup is completing the quest. Both of these decks don't really do anything offensively until the quest is complete, and you cannot defend rag shots forever. So completing the quest first gives you a huge advantage in the matchup.
Yeah, the way you come from behind is by not being too far behind and trying to set up some sort of situation where you can get a bit lucky, but yeah, completing it first is massive. And Gaara seems to have the curve to do that after this really sad turn here.
He's got the choice of whether or not he wants to bump the minion. Why not, right? I
mean, it's one of those, we're talking about the nuances of this game. This seems to be like the tiniest of implications either way, on almost to the who cares level on this particular attack.
Right. Like, not attacking can play around Battle Rage, but if they have Battle Rage, they can just make the attack for you. So it's not that big of a deal.
So Sjow is going to have a chance to catch up on cards, but he's going to need to, as Gaara's got a 4 and a 5 here.
And Sjow's holding back his War Axe. He's got the Acolyte to trade on the board. Very well played there. Just be able to get that extra War Axe charge. He basically gained a War Axe charge through that exchange.
Seems decent.
Yeah.
So, are there any other good ways to come from behind? Let's say you're 3 taunts behind. Is it just a case of hope they miss, or are there things you can do, set up, like go very, very low on health and try and get some tempo that way?
I mean, the way you come from behind is them not having the brawls or the executes to try and guarantee their shots and being able to go wide on the board.
So you just go all in and hope?
Yeah, well, you can try and stutter step the brawl. You know, commit a few minions, and then a lot of players very aggressively brawl in this matchup because they don't want to fall 1 shot behind. And they don't expect their opponent to have too many minions because a lot of times all of the minions get played early and the hand size is left with just removal. So you kind of brawl 2 minions a lot of times in this matchup. So if you can get them to force out a brawl and then extend wide and they don't have any way to clear these taunts, you can feasibly win on board control, but a bit unlikely.
Yeah, given that you're losing half a card a turn effectively when they're shooting that rag either at your face or at a card. Both those things hurt so much. So Sjow is going to be able to cycle through stuff at some point if he wants here.
Yeah, he's getting very good cycle. He's a few cards ahead of Gaara for sure. Gaara has the Curator in his hand already, though. Curator, one of the most influential cards in this matchup. If you look at statistics, when you play the Curator in this matchup, your win rate goes way up. So having that is insane.
This may be Curator and Drake combo, maybe the 2 cards in the meta at the moment in all of the decks that are pretty much the defining statement. Because there isn't too much. Like, normally people are complaining about X card, it obviously needs a nerf. Or X card we don't like anyway. This meta, there isn't really a defining card like that. I think that's the closest thing to it.
Yeah, Primordial Glyph. That's the one. If you go on Reddit, everyone's complaining about Primordial Glyph like almost all the time.
It's safe for you on Reddit. It's not safe for me there.
Okay. Well, that is a crazy card. We're not going to be seeing that, obviously, because it's the Taunt Warrior Mirror. But yeah, in the Taunt Warrior Mirror, nobody really complains about too much. Harrison Jones picked up for Gaara. Weapon removal is not super important, but it's not bad. But the main factor in this is the card draw in this matchup, which is going to further tilt the matchup slightly in his favor, having additional card draw, because it is a big resource battle, and being able to complete your quest faster is important. And more cards help you do that. And
Gaara, despite that flying start, is actually only 1 point ahead on quest, so he's like only half a turn in front. We can see he has his next 2 turns mapped out as well, but Sjow's got a lot of taunt, and his turn 9, for instance, he can play 2.
Right.
He's got the combo in hand to do that. It's going to be really close in this race, despite that turn 2 wrap.
Yeah, the 3 cards from Sjow's Acolyte and the Slam, all of that cycle coming in early has been really huge for him. But Gaara should be able to play a taunt every turn for the rest of the game now, because his Curator is going to be drawing 2, and then he's got it is self is a taunt, so that's going to bump him up to 4, and then he's got the last Drake to be the final taunt. So the quest is completely laid out for him. It's just kind of a slow completion. You'd like to finish around turn 9, and this is going to be like turn 10 unless he picks up another taunt.
Yeah, and Sjow's going to be able to do it, I think, on the same turn, because he will catch up by playing the 5 and the 4 on turn 9.
And the 3.
Oh, now he can do 2 in a row.
Yeah, it's a lot faster. So just having these cheaper taunts. That's one of the cards you can also include to sway your matchup a little bit better. I was casting Star Ladder recently, and one of the Chinese players cut War Axes.
I
from their
saw
deck.
that.
Yeah.
Was it deliberate? Did you get to ask?
Yeah,
him?
it was deliberate. He cut the War Axes from the deck and replaced them with Tar Creepers.
Right.
And he won 100% of his Taunt Warrior Mirrors.
Because he's got 2 better cards.
He's just got more taunts to complete the quest faster, and they're cheap taunts that can make it happen. So as much as you'd think it's an anti-aggro card, it's really good in Quest Warrior Mirrors as well.
That's such a strange decision, but did all right with it as well, didn't he?
Hey, he got top 4.
Yeah, how did he?
Not too bad. You know, they took home like what, like 5-6 grand for top 4. So
yeah, it seems like
no War Axe.
Seems like a good no War Axe better to me.
So 4 out of 7 for Gaara. Picking up the smaller taunt there, he can accelerate it all the way to 6, but he needs to pick up a small taunt off Stonehill Defender as well, so that he can then complete the quest and actually hero power in the same turn, and he can have a turn 9 activation.
Yeah, and it's actually not going to be as brutal as we were describing by any means. These players already considering what happens after the quest is completed, I should imagine, how they're going to do phase 2 of the operation and actually maintain their cards in hand as well as winning the game with the quest.
Gaara has a huge edge, though. Having that Harrison Jones, he's going to have so much gas going forward. He's already got the life total advantage. He's above 8 health ahead of Sjow, which means he's basically got a free rag shot right there. The hired gun, for sure. Now you can complete the quest and fire off the hero power. So you can throw out the Direhorn Matriarch this turn, and the next turn be able to go hired gun, complete the quest, equip the weapon, utilize the hero power.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I don't like the Tar Lord too much.
That will eat 2 rag shots?
It could eat 2 rag shots.
Execute, but you know.
Yeah, 1 execute or 1 brawl, I think, is the most likely outcome. I think it's... You're the one ahead. I don't think you need to be defensive in this situation. He must feel like he's behind for some reason, but he's way further on quest progression. He has the draw with Harrison Jones to be able to find the brawls and executes, which can turn his rag shots into damage. I really do not understand that Tar Lord pick. It seems overly defensive to me.
Sometimes when you include a tech card like Harrison Jones in your lineup, you assume everybody else has done the same thing.
Okay.
Maybe he's seeing ghosts a little bit here.
Sure, and thinking that
Show's got it as well, so what does it matter?
Even still, he's playing towards this value game instead of trying to play towards killing his opponent. And I think the value of an extra hero power is worth more than the difference between a 4-3 taunt and the Tar Lurker. Yeah,
in a matchup with not a huge number of targets, like you say, Brawl doesn't count how many targets there are anyway, it just kills them because that's kind of what it says on the card.
So Sjow is going to be getting the first hero power off this game, the first rag hero power. Not
and he didn't have to, like you say, if this had been a hired gun, it would have been the other way around.
Sure. But Gaara has a lot of big minions, a lot of value in his hand. 1 execute's been used. He's going on this board control game plan.
Yeah, still in the better spot, as you said, like just looking at the hands, you can see who's in the better spot. But
yeah, he's definitely at an advantage as well. I think going for this board control game plan with the Tar Lurker must be based around that Harrison Jones. He knows he's going to have extra value coming in. Thinks he can just outcard Sjow.
Okay.
Maybe it works.
See how it works out for him. So the next few turns are the grindy things, right? This is where things just start getting eliminated, and then you can make your assessment of whether you're ahead or behind based on where your rag shots go. You can't really predict too far in the future.
It's a perfect rag shot for Sjow. He can now utilize his weapon to end the 1-3 to be able to clear the minion, keeping the highest health total minions alive. Taking 6 damage is a bit scary, though.
It does also use up one of those charges, which is a card less that Gaara's going to get. And I doubt he's considering Harrison. He'll just do it because he thinks he should kill the minion.
Right. He should.
As just a surprise extra, he'll gain a card out of it.
And he just has to evaluate here how much is 6 life worth. And it's tough to tell, because if your opponent has a brawl, then saving these minions isn't really worth too much. So taking 6 is like almost taking another rag shot, which is a big deal with the health disadvantage at this point.
Yeah, it took him below 24, which is the break point for those 3 rag shots, of course. And now Gaara, we're going to see what he's been thinking the last turn or two. Well, how does he intend to proceed from there?
I imagine he Harrison Jones and Sulfur's hero power.
I mean, that's how it looks for sure.
Yeah.
He has no reason to get an extra hero power weaved in there, I don't think. He's got a load of cards. Get them on the table.
Exactly. When you have a hand advantage, then if you trade evenly with your opponent, or even just slightly suboptimally, at the end of the day, you're going to be the one left with cards. So
right, yeah.
You're going to end up winning that battle. So when you're this far ahead, it's oftentimes very good to just exchange.
And that's exactly what he's going to do, with just making sure he pays due care and attention. Okay.
Very solid hit for him.
Suddenly Sjow's hand, this is what you were talking about a few turns ago, it's just revealing itself to be a little bit empty now.
But the thing is, it's so hard to win with the board control plan against Taunt Warrior because your minions don't do any damage, and Brawl is such a great card at stopping you from being able to do that. So
even from this point, they're still going to have to tiptoe around each other. It's going to be like, are my 2 minions going to take on your 1 minion until, just to play around Brawl to make sure that if Gaara lost 1 extra card, suddenly this game's right back in it. So he's going to have to look after these cards carefully.
Gaara has a lot of minions, but he needs finisher cards. He has no way to close out the game in his hand right now. He doesn't have the brawls. He doesn't have the ways to make sure his hero powers start connecting. So it's going to be really slow as he's just developing minions into this board and hoping.
And Sjow has the opposite. If he can draw into a few minions, he can still level this up, especially with a Levag shot or 2 going the right way for him.
Right. He really needed that one to hit him in the face there.
Yeah, he's going to need the minion damage to catch up, obviously.
Right.
He can't win with his trading 8s for 8s. Eventually, he just loses.
Exactly.
So he needs to get a mini board where he can just push through a couple of 6s or something like that.
Right now, with the execute and the brawl, he's like kind of having 16 damage in his hand.
Yeah.
So he's still a ways away.
And because he's been behind most of the game, he has also taken the most chip damage as well. So everything's still counting against him here.
The Acolyte's a pretty solid pickup.
Yep.
Well, I mean, now you can execute while also cycling, so it's not the worst case in the world.
That's why this hero power is so nuts, right? Because you can almost always say, well, the bad option happens and you find just another way to deal with what's going on so often. And sometimes, like, the first option is bad, it hits face. Then it hits face again, you're like, oh, actually, I quite like the fact it hit face last turn now. Yeah. Suddenly you just get into range a different way. Going to refuel his hand a little bit. Okay.
Whirlwind is not a lot of help here. Well,
press the magic button.
Tarlurker looks good. Both executes have been utilized. Tarlurker
Sure.
absorbs a rag shot.
Sure. That was the point of taking it in the first place, we felt, so...
The point was to try and outvalue Sjow, and this is the point where it's becoming value, as Sjow is out of cards. So now you can take out the Armor Smith, fire off a rag shot, and throw out a Tarlurker. Start building a board.
Yep, clear everything up.
It's kind of interesting, the Tarlurker, right?
I'm just looking at his hand. He hasn't got any damage in hand at all.
No,
like,
it's nothing.
It's going to be a while.
The damage. So the Dirty Rat play. Interesting. He really wants to out-minion Sjow. He's trying to increase his rag shot's odds of hitting minions.
Yeah.
And just focusing on board control rather than trying to get the damage. And that makes sense because of the way that Gaara's hand is. He doesn't have any brawls or executes to kind of turn the hero power into damage. So he's like, I'm not even going to try to do that. I'm just going to win the board.
Sjow was not impressed with that pickup. Remember, these players in this tournament all sit opposite each other. So it's important that you don't just look like you've been punched in the face when you draw your second brawl, if you can help it.
Right.
There is that option to just see what your opponent's doing. Pavel, RDU, 2 of the players who use that most advantage, I think.
He chooses not to attack with the Acolyte to see if he would maybe get something playable. Holds it back to try and force Gaara to make that attack. If Gaara makes that attack, Sjow gains 2 additional life. Sjow's at 25 right now. And 3 rag shots is 24, so that is an entire rag shot that Sjow gains if Gaara has to kill the Acolyte with the Dirty Rat. So that's why he forgoes seeing what his next card is.
But on top of that, that next card might have been something he could play to gain some tempo that may have saved more than 2 in the long run, but that's why he's done it.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, he's probably worked out, I mean, he'll know the rough composition of the deck, obviously, that he's not in any danger of dying in the next turn or 2, so he can wait.
It's coming down to the wire. Sjow might have to YOLO brawl. Ghoul brawl, hero power. Hope your ghoul wins the brawl. He can't afford to take even 1 damage. So if the Tarlurker wins the brawl and he takes 1, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
is that just changes the clock. Right now, they're both on, like, very similar clocks.
Yeah, and if he does win, there's 2 11s available to him, which is 22. In a way, in a convoluted kind of way.
Sure, and he speeds up the clock by 1 turn and can win the game from that position.
Right.
So, I don't see another option for him. He just needs to win this 1 and 3. Even if the Dirty Rat lives, it's not that bad for you. So you're taking a 50-50 and turning it into a 2 and 3.
I'm wondering, yeah, I'm wondering if he's going to if he's just looking again, just looking at all the options, which ordering to do it. You could play it into the Dirty Rat and still have the better board, for instance. But he's doing it this way. This is the way you thought was good. This works, and he wins.
He wins it. Now he's got a real shot to be able to take this game. That Tar Lurker pick from Gaara, it did not work out for him. You see, it
cost
just
him
cleaned up
7
the brawl.
mana.
Yeah,
It just died to 5.
right. That cost him a rag shot to be able to invest in picking that.
Always nice when you can track through how something does work out with reasonable accuracy, and that did just cost him a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely results-oriented thinking still.
Of course.
But it did not work out well for him this game, that's for sure.
No way of gaining armor available. That he's created a way to make armor, which will get him above the magic 16, almost certainly. But Sjow now 2 hits to face could just win the game. So next time we're going to see Gaara possibly just spam the board with... If this hits face, Gaara might have to spam the board with things he doesn't want to just to gain the armor to not die.
Right.
Okay, so that discussion's ended.
Yeah, he's got the most favorable result there, the Armor Smith getting hit. So now when he attacks with the Alley Armor Smith, he's going to bump himself up to 17, being outside the range of 2 rag shots, which is fantastic for Gaara.
Otherwise, he was going to have to extend wide and just walk into Brawl number 2.
Yeah, potentially, for sure. 10 cards left still. He's going to be able to get a lot of fuel out of this Battle Rage.
It feels like Gaara won this game half an hour ago.
Well,
not quite, because Show's generating waves.
He's poking in the door, man. He's winning that brawl was huge. He really opened up the possibility that he can make something happen. So it's definitely not over. You don't want to count your chickens before they hatch.
I credited this to you earlier. Was it you was talking before about really long days and playing Control all day? Like, it just wears you down as the day goes on?
It is definitely tiring, for sure. Stamina is a thing. I've played a lot of tournaments and had stamina be a problem for myself, and I've casted a lot of tournaments where players played great the first 3 matches of the day, and then the last match of the day, it just all fell apart. So
I mean, Show's streams go on very long, so he'll be fine with a long Control day, but...
an endurance player for sure. He's definitely experienced with that. I've seen him stream for 12, 13 hours at a time before. He's played in a lot of these Swiss events.
Yeah, and done very well across HCT qualifiers and other such long events. Okay, still finding ways to get stuff out there. Now he's down to 15, so he's below the magic number as well.
Yeah, just 2 rag shots to kill him.
And even though that misses, it's not really that great for him. Show's going to have like a 50-50 followed by a 1 in a million. But no armor currently for Gaara. So Sjow is possibly going to get 2 goes at this. Oh, it's 17 though.
Yeah, the 17 is a bit awkward. He needs to connect 3 rag shots. So he's behind on board, he's behind on cards, and he's behind on the clock by an entire hero power. So he's going to need to win a brawl in the future again to be able to try and come back into this, or find some way to connect 1 damage.
And after all this, Sjow has Druid in his lineup anyway.
The Jade Druid, most likely, yeah.
So you do all this, they just shut it down anyway.
It could be the aggro Druid.
It could.
Would just get completely destroyed by the Taunt Warrior. But yeah, really smart by Gaara picking his Taunt Warrior into Show's Taunt Warrior. You wouldn't think that it's a very favorable matchup because it is a mirror, but Gaara having the double Dirty Rat and the Battle Rage in his list, those are 3 cards that are exceptionally powerful. And the Harrison Jones as well. Just all of these card draw mechanics that really help him able to pull ahead in the Taunt Warrior mirror. And you see it working out wonderfully for him.
Feeling his weakness a little bit as well. Okay, you're saying the Paladin is regarded as favourite against Warrior, but he would have been aware that if his Shaman deck is token, which you can assume it probably is, a 50-50 Warrior and a just over 50-50 Paladin, you're weak to Taunt Warrior with that going on. So he's weighted it to his advantage if this did happen.
Right, right.
Not just picked a deck out of the air and said, oh, I'll play Taunt Warrior this week, he looks good.
And you had to know, like, Gaara had to identify what was in Sjow's deck game 1. Like, deck lists are not public.
Right.
So he identified, hey, Sjow has no Dirty Rats, so now I'm going to play my Taunt Warrior, which has Dirty Rats.
Yeah.
Which gives me a better chance here.
And Sjow got a buy in round 1, so there's not even any research going on there. He had to straight up just go blind into this. And just paid massive attention in game 1 when it went 20 cards deep.
Yeah. It's almost reaching fatigue.
So many choices.
Yes. The good old days of Fatigue Warrior versus Fatigue Warrior. Turn 14 of Fatigue.
Okay. So Sjow is threatening 12 next turn. Potentially.
Can he find a way through? Doesn't seem likely.
So if he wins this brawl and has something to develop, he's got a really good shot. Doesn't seem to be the case, though.
That's not a thing you can develop in the what you meant in the word, because you're counting for only 8 mana every turn from this point on. He has to fire a shot a turn, of course.
Gaara has 3 cards remaining. No brawls have been used. So you have to assume, if you're in Sjow's shoes, that there could potentially be a brawl coming out here.
Sjow could also use that to his advantage, possibly, in that he might only need to land 2 shots.
Well,
if he can fatigue Gaara for 1, it's not happening, he's going to die. But
okay, yeah, that's true.
Something else he would have had in his mind is, if I can fatigue you for 1, I win this game.
Gaara has the ability to brawl, and a lot of the time he wins. If he wins the brawl with his minion, he wins.
Yep.
Or if he wins the 50-50 thereafter, he wins. So you take the 2 armor first, and then you can even play the Acolyte. Now the brawl is also a 50-50 into another 50-50, so 75% of the time here. Gaara
Wins on the spot, and then there's all the associated percentages on the coming turns as well. Wins it first time, puts us out of our misery. Goes to 1 game apiece in this round 2 here at DreamHack Summer 2017.
Yeah, the Sjow fought back very well. I thought, you know, we saw turn 2, Gaara played Dirty Rat. It pulled out Stonehill Defender from Sjow,
right?
Which is, Gaara played 1 taunt and removed 2 taunts from Sjow's deck. In a deck where it's so crucial to be able to find those taunts in time. And I thought it was just over from that, but Sjow almost clawed his way back into that.
Yeah, that play where he played the Ghoul and brawled and won the 1 in 3, which is you're perfectly entitled to do as an emergency, seemed to sort him out and got him back into some sort of chance. But Gaara had built up so much value through that strategy through the game, worked out okay for him.
And now we are going to see the Jade Druid from Sjow up against the Taunt Warrior from Gaara. This is a super heavily favored matchup for the Jade Druid. Oftentimes, the Jade Druid can draw through its entire deck, going infinite with Jade Idols prior to the Taunt Warrior's ability to complete the quest. You see there Sjow mulliganing away 2 Innervates, which may seem a little strange, but the reason you do this is because you want to be ramping your Jades in the early game. You don't really get any value out of having early tempo. So innervating out a big minion doesn't help you. That just plays into their resources of execute. Whereas saving Innervate later on to combo with Gadgets on Auctioneer gives you card draw, which does allow you to win the game.
Innervate has become such a strange card in Hearthstone. It's obviously a massive tempo gain, but a lot of the time now people are choosing to play it against aggro, for instance, on turn 6 into a Drake. You often don't just want it in your opening hand. You just want to get that stuff rolling and ticking along, and it's just blowing a card, which is so odd. And yet in the aggressive Druid, everybody wants to innovate in their opening hand.
Yeah, because you just want to be getting things on the board. But the game plan of the Druid isn't aggressive with Jades. It's, it's super, super passive. It wants to ramp up its mana in the early stages and then cycle the entire deck, every single card, and then make Jade Idols forever.
I find Dirty Rat interesting in this matchup because it can do damage to the Jades. When's a good time to try and catch something with that Dirty Rat?
It's kind of difficult to say. Doing it whenever you're going to be playing a Brawl is usually pretty nice, whenever you can answer it. There's a lot of big minions in the Druid deck, so you don't really want to give them a free 3/6 super early on. But, or trying to save it later on to snipe Gadgets and Auctioneer is really huge. If you can get that problem out of the way, sometimes the Jade Druid can kind of run out of cards. So trying to wait till maybe turn 8 or 9, or when you think they're going to be trying to set up to Gadgets and Auctioneer, is an oftentimes a pretty good strategy with the Dirty Rat.
You can sometimes, as the Warrior, get a mini board that looks like a good board. That's the time you can Dirty Rat and trade into the thing that comes out if it's bad for you as well.
Sure.
Something I found. But overall, what I find with this matchup is the Warrior quite often at a casual glance, looks like he's in a good position and never, ever is.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy how big the Warriors board can get, and the Druid has nothing, and the Druid's taking so much damage, gets down to like 10 life or whatever, and then they get a crazy gadgets and double innervate turn that they've been setting up the entire game, and then they create 10-10, 11-11 Jades and
gain
start
12 armor.
Yeah, and then just steal the game away from the Taunt Warrior.
Yeah, I fell for that once or twice when I very first saw it. It's like, oh, the Warrior's going to do okay. No, it just is.
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
With that in mind, of course, the Warrior does try to use that to their advantage. They do try to make that wide board the Druid cannot deal with and just try to slap the damage in there as quickly as possible. But how do you slap damage in with a bunch of 1-4s and 2-6s?
Very slowly.
Gaara couldn't kill a dead man last game, let alone a guy's hitting you back.
Oh, man. The most aggressive card he could play is Bloodhoof Brave this turn, but he also had the option to try and get a 3-card Battle Rage, which is also quite powerful. But, you know, staying exactly true to what we've been saying, the Warrior needs to be aggressive. So they don't have time to try and take these value lines. They have to put on as much pressure as possible, try and kill Sjow before he's able to get his game plan online.
And it looks to me like Sjow's going to have no trouble at all getting his game plan online with this particular hand. Gadgets and Innovate already in hand. Backup of a load of Jades, which is something that can sometimes go wrong. You might get stranded with just 2 2s by turn 7, and maybe then the Warrior sneaks through, but it's such a hard matchup. And I think this is why it's interesting to have Last Hero Standing. The game changes, right? Sometimes Conquest's the best, sometimes Last Hero is the best, depending where you are in a meta. But in this meta at the moment, with quite a few 60-40, 65-35s, I feel that Last Hero is really interesting.
So many choices.
It's always been one of my favorite formats, for sure. Having counter picks allows for a lot of creative deck building. So we saw, like, earlier on, the Stan Cifka game, for example. He was running in his Jade Druid Moonfires, Acolyte of Pains, so switching it up to make it more favored, to change it from, you know, 70-30 into just 80-20, for example.
Yeah, turn it into a real counter deck.
Yeah, so I love seeing those wacky counter decks come out. That's my favorite part of the format.
But against that, sometimes, like, we had a meta some months ago where Shaman's the best deck, Zoo's the second best deck because Shaman's banned.
Right, and then everyone just
wins
played
3-0.
that. Yeah,
and then that could be a bad time for the Last Hero Standing and a good time for Conquest because you only see that Stomp deck once. So that's why we need multiple formats, I feel.
For sure.
But this is definitely Last Hero Standing time at the moment for me. Not just because I'm sat here at DreamHack, but literally because we have this counter meta at the moment.
Just more Jades. All of the Jades for Sjow.
Yeah, who's got the most taunts in this game? Sjow's going to just make so much stuff. In fact, he's got a wealth of options to the point where how long do I want to wait with the Auctioneer? Do I just try and slap them with Jades?
I would wait a lot longer.
I think I would wait.
Yeah, I'm very curious that he's picking it up right now. I would imagine you can just play your Jade cards because they're big enough now that they're threatening until you absolutely need to play the gadgets, and he could be afraid of that Dirty Rat, though. So he's going up a little bit prematurely. It does give him great trades on the board. And it is kind of a difficult minion sometimes if you don't have a Sleep with the Fishes combo or something. It can be a little bit awkward for the Warrior to remove.
Was the thing we talked about as well, like you say, that Dirty Rat going into turn 7 or 8. That's Sjow's assessment as well by the look of it.
Yeah, he's just afraid of the Dirty Rat. He says, you know what, I'm so far ahead right now. My hand is so great. How do I possibly lose?
Right.
It's the Dirty Rat. So let's just play around that.
And as it happened, it worked out really badly for him in terms of Dirty Rat management, just because he's where he was a minute ago with 1 fewer Auctioneers in his deck.
Yeah.
Should still be fine.
Should be all right. Gives Gaara a disgusting Sleep with the Fishes here. You have to imagine he's just going to trade in the 1-4, play the Ghoul, play Sleep with the Fishes.
Yeah, because this card gets out of range fast as well, so you might as well use it while it still does something.
But the pressure is going to keep rolling. Sjow has a lot of Jades.
Sjow likes these early game cards, doesn't he?
The Enchanted Raven is a weird one.
I've seen him mess with Jade Druid multiple times. Never quite sure whether he's serious or not. And he does like the Raven just as an early game, stop your stupid stuff, stop your 1-2s.
It's really fun in sealed deck form, or not revealed deck formats too, because imagine Sjow queues up game 1 with the Druid and opens with Enchanted Raven. Like, no one's going to think he's Jade. Everyone's going to start, like, adjusting their play for if he were aggro, and then he's like, surprise, Jade Druid.
Here's some Jades. That'd be hilarious.
So the bluff value is kind of gone of it now, but I imagine, you know, that being there means there's a Curator in his deck, so he's going to have even additional draw beyond these Gadgets and Auctioneers and the Nourishes. Yeah,
it's definitely a card I've seen Sjow play a lot with. So we are seeing quite a bit of innovation in this tournament around a theme. The core 15, 10 decks are there.
Yeah.
We've seen Stan play the Moonfires, we've seen Sjow play Ravens. We've seen the Dirty Rat variant of Warrior, which is the less played variant, I would say.
Right. The Dirty Rat is variant of the Taunt Warrior is better against control, a little bit worse against aggro. Yeah. Most people bring Taunt Warrior to target aggro and don't play the Dirty Rats because of that.
And that goes back to all the way back to what you were saying about Swiss tournaments. What do you want to do about rounds 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Do you want to have some defense against the aggro, or do you want to shut your eyes and hope that rounds 1 and 2 go away?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the times, it's really hard to predict the meta accurately, because if it was easy, we'd all win tournaments.
Is that a dig?
What? No.
But yeah, exactly.
He's got 2 innervates he could try and find off this. Or hoping to find anyway.
Again, getting this down a little bit earlier than you normally would, presumably again with rats in mind. It's the same thought process. Whatever led him to do the first one early has led him to do the second one early.
As well as having just 2 Nourishes in the Curator to be drawing towards.
Sure.
He doesn't need to draw all that much off these Gadgets, and it's just something, and then he'll be able to try and hit these other draw cards that he's included in his deck.
Because going infinite when he's this far in front just isn't necessary. It's very nice and all that, but
he will go infinite.
He should be able to just get there anyway.
So he's got the Curator, which I'm not sure if he runs another Beast, but it can probably pull a Dragon, so that's 1 draw. And then he's got 3 draws from each of the Nourish, and he's got 2 Wraths remaining, which is another 2 draws. So count that up, that's 9 draws. He's got 13 cards. I imagine
that's infinite. I'll give you that.
Infinite, yeah. So he's got the ability to draw his entire deck. He has completed enough draw off the Gadgets and Auctioneer to be sufficient with that.
So Gaara, this is where the game gets really sad for the Warrior. You spend your whole time trying not to die. And somehow you've got to find a win condition after all of that.
Right.
And you feel your win condition is completing the quest, but it just isn't because the Jades even hit 9.
They're too big, yeah. They're already at 6/6. He can already make them up to 8/8 in his hand, and he's going to draw more Jade cards. So it's really, really hopeless from Gaara from this position. And he doesn't even have an answer that's very clean for this Gadgets and Auctioneer.
And when all that starts happening, there's still Earthen Scales, there's still Feral Rage still to come.
This Gadget's just going to stick, so it's like, what can he even do? There's always the hope my opponent runs Doomsayer and Dirty Rat that play, but this is a disaster for him. He's only at 5 out of 7 of his quest, and Show's about to draw his entire deck.
Other than that, everything's going fine.
Just peachy.
How are you feeling? Yeah, great. He did ban the Paladin, of course, choosing to let this Druid live. So that's interesting as well, feeling this isn't even the worst deck against him. And his other 2 decks were the Paladin, which I thought the Druid would be pretty good against, and the Shaman, which, yeah.
Shaman's just so well-rounded, it's hard to say, but the Shaman should perform, you know, adequately against the Jade Druid. I wouldn't say it's a huge favorite by any margin, but it's definitely slightly favorite.
It has enough options, doesn't it, to keep them on their toes. Like you can start making a wide board, which they struggle to deal with, or you can just start going Doppelgangster Evolve quickly enough.
Yeah, if you get an early Doppelgangster Evolve off, Druid can't really deal with that. And then just the ability of Flame Tongue Totem to help your early minions trade up. Druid has always struggled against Flame Tongue Totem since the beginning of time. It's because Druid ramps up with mana early on, ignoring the board, and then Shaman can capitalize off that board.
Right.
Oh, he runs double Enchanted Raven. These are tech cards that may allow Sjow to be able to win the early board against Shaman and make that matchup a little bit better. So that's really interesting that Sjow has teched his Jade Druid seemingly against early game board control decks like Shaman. And Shaman thus far this tournament has been the most popular counter to aggro Druid.
Yeah, it's something I know for a fact, and like we're talking about this because the Shaman is coming back, that Sjow does just dislike is the fact that Druid is so exposed in those early turns to aggro in general, but in particular the Shaman, which is full of 1/2s and totems, which are 0/2s.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to shut that down with these Enchanted Ravens.
And he's probably lost a Tar Creeper and a Gluttonous Ooze or something, so who cares?
Yeah,
it's fine.
Fairly inconsequential nowadays.
We haven't seen a single Mage yet today.
That's really weird. Mage is one of the most represented classes on ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no one bringing Mage. I guess that's probably just because it's last hero standing. They don't feel like they can target very well with Mage, and Shaman kind of fits the well-rounded class better.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just hit the side of the bracket.
Right.
People aren't playing Mages yet.
Yeah, we've got this impression that every single player in the tournament is playing Warrior, Druid, and Shaman.
Right, like
just
the first
seen
4.
2 matches.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we definitely need more information before we can really speculate on that. I imagine Mage will make a very strong appearance. So Gaara's going to wrap this one up.
Puts us out of our misery yet again, I think, with that concede. And now we're going to find out about the Shaman, presumably the token. I don't see many reasons in LHS to bring anything other than Evolve Shaman.
Well, Gaara is known as Gaara Best Shaman, so it could really be anything. He's a wacky deck innovator, and especially with that Shaman. So I'm hoping it's not just the standard token Shaman, and it's something crazy with Spirit Echoes and shenanigans.
I mean, Sivka didn't let us down when we said he was a deck innovator, so let's do it, Gaara. Let's have something a bit interesting. But he didn't cue it earlier into the Warrior, so there's nothing too wacky going on for value.
Yeah, it's probably not value-oriented. Well, then again...
Well, there's some cards.
I think he queued into the Warrior into Sjow's Warrior just because he was very confident his techs were going to be able to hold through. But this is a wacky Shaman deck. We have Halazeal. Whenever your spells deal damage, restore that much health to your hero. A card that you don't really see every day in competitive Hearthstone.
So this one, if Gaara gets his way, is going long.
Yeah, it can extend very much so into the late game. It's some sort of control Shaman. He's got Lightning Storm. Not a great
Interesting
card.
how he's approaching this. He's kept every card with the word Jade in it.
Yeah.
And he's just going to try and get in front on the Jade count against a deck that is designed to get in front of the Jade count. But what's his other choice?
Sjow's got Wraths in his hand because Sjow's not expecting this Shaman.
Right.
Sjow isn't expecting at all that there's going to be that super heavy control Jade Shaman. So that plays to Gaara's advantage a little bit there. But yeah, that is how this kind of Shaman deck beats, or any Jade mirror really works, is whoever plays more Jade cards kind of wins, because you know, your opponent makes a 1/1, you make a 2/2, you value trade.
It's
they have
such
to
a snowball.
Mana. Yeah, they have to invest mana into killing your minion that's stuck around, and then you make another one, and you just have value trades all the way down. So whoever can get ahead first is off to a pretty big advantage.
Sjow still will not know what the news is of what he's up against. It's a perfectly normal turn 1 play for Shaman at this point.
Yeah, he's probably a little suspicious. It is kind of slow for Shaman to be coming out of the gate like this. And honestly, in this matchup, I would favor the Jade Druid just because it has more Jade cards than the Jade Shaman, allowing it to get the Jade total higher. It also has a lot less dead cards, like Volcano and Lightning Storm are pretty impractical against Jade Druid.
A little more card draw as well in the Druid deck, a little bit more of everything. So, like you say, I understand entirely why it would be favoured, but Gaara keeping 3 Jades in his opening hand, definitely going to at least give him a chance in this.
Doomsayer. So he's got a lot of anti-aggro tech here. Doomsayer is not going to be too effective. He could use it going into turn 6 to set up like Coin Jade Chieftain. I imagine that would be one of the best ways to utilize it.
He could play it now to shut down the turn 6, then just Lightning Face as a minion, and then play turn 7 Chieftain, turn 6 Chieftain.
I think you want your opponent to play something, though. You want to be able to Jade Lightning one of your opponent's minions.
Sure.
I think that's incredibly valuable. So I don't really like playing it now. If your opponent plays a 6-drop, right, you can go Hex and then Doomsayer.
Sure.
Then you go to 6 mana, then you go Coin Jade Chieftain, which is, I think, one of the progressions I'd like to see.
And the question after that is how, I mean, he'll have 3 or 4 more cards by then, but how does he proceed to then just push that advantage? Given already that even though Sjow kept all the anti-aggro stuff or the early game stuff, he's still going to start generating his own Jades very soon. Gaara going with your play here and just killing some time.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for sure. And you have to use Hex for very low value, unless Aya comes out. He's going to play around it.
Wow.
Wow. That's good identification of...
Yeah, Sjow seemed very alert in all of these games, even in that Taunt Warrior game where he was behind for so long, just finding the route to give himself a chance.
Yeah.
He seems very comfortable today.
Yeah, that's very solid, being able to play around the Hex, realizing that, hey, my opponent's surrendering tempo. They just spent the entire turn roping and then hero powered. Why are they giving up on the board right here all of a sudden? And it's because they have some way to take it back. Now, what does that mean? That means like board clears like Volcano sometimes, but not really against Jade Druid. So then you have to think about Hex, Jade Lightning, stuff like that. And playing around the Hex here really beautifully.
It's an area of his game I think he's worked on very hard. One of his biggest complaints in general about like life, the universe, everything, is he doesn't enjoy playing against decks where they're not revealed. So in a Swiss, in round 2, you're in that spot. And I think he's worked very hard on his game, on his deck identification, on his tech card identification. And I think that's showing through already. If he gets to round 7, when everyone knows what everyone's playing, he is going to be a force to reckon with, if he can, talking a whole day ahead here.
Sure. Interesting. Jade Lightning there on the 2-2 to try and save the weapon for Gaara. He could have tried to take down the Behemoth and just leave the 2-2 instead, but wants to save that weapon and can get a little bit punished by it if Sjow wants to take that. He's got the Wrath and the Swipe to clean up the Doomsayer.
Yeah, there's no clever play with Fandral, right? He just has to do the Wrath Swipe now if he's going to do that.
He could also try and invest in Aya and just let the Doomsayer go. Gaara's going into 6 mana, so he's got to be worried about what really from Shaman on 6 mana. There aren't too many cards that the Jade Shamans play that cost 6 mana. Oftentimes you won't see them playing Fire Elemental or things like that. So I think that's one of the justifications for cleaning up the Doomsayer here, is just because there's no real 6-drop you're afraid of Gaara developing.
Yep, and it's going to be shown to be correct because this turn it's okay, but it's not life-threatening at all. And now he should get some value out of this Fandral if he wants it. Or he can just drop Aya. So many choices.
Still fears the potential Hex, but it's better for him than previously because this is going into Gaara's turn 7. And he notices Gaara was trying to set up a Doomsayer because he saw the Doomsayer come down. What was he trying to set up a Doomsayer for? Jade Chieftain. So he's identified there's a Jade Chieftain in Gaara's hand, and he wants to force Gaara to have to use a Hex instead of being able to play the Jade Chieftain that he wants to play. So that's why either developing the Fandral or the Aya is so ideal there. But Aya does not get better in your hand, whereas Fandral, the more cards you have, the more options you have with it, the more mana you have to spend with it, it does get better. So he's chosen Aya over Fandral for that reason.
Nice. And if you can rip and nourish off the top, he's going to be good anyway with the cards that are there on turn 9. He can play 2 cards anyway. If you can rip and nourish, that turn just goes insane.
Exactly.
So pretty easy work for Gaara this turn, but he's actually considering trying to get the board first and saving the Hex.
Saving the Hex
seems
ambitious.
Yeah. It gives Aya a chance to get rid of herself. That's the problem.
I mean, you could devolve the Aya potentially, but that doesn't seem worth either. It's kind of weird. You might be able to use Storm this turn, get value out of a card that typically gets 0 value in the matchup.
It's not getting any value if you go more than about another 2 turns with it, that's for sure.
Let's see. Oh, that's pretty cute.
So what can happen from Mr. Fandral if he wants to go that route? He doesn't even want to, just go fill up his hand, thin out his deck of those big cards, the Drakes.
Right.
And get rid of that pesky Raven that you really don't want to top deck as well.
Just setting up for the Gadgets and Auctioneer to be solid. He doesn't need to react super aggressively to this board. It's not very threatening, so he can wait for the Fandral to eventually find the Nourish.
So one of the problems here for Gaara, I assume, is the Spirit Echo. You'd like to save it if he's got one for the Jade Chieftain. You've still got an Aya later as well, so you're okay. But this is your last chance to fight for board, this minion, and then you've got 2 or 3 turns where you're trying to draw into stuff. I'm assuming there's a Spirit Echo in here. If there's not, I'd be amazed.
Yeah, and oftentimes there's Spirit Echoes in these decks. Maybe not 2 because of the Doomsayer and other defensive tech options that we've seen, but for sure there has to be 1 to be able to extend your Jades. Otherwise, they just are too small. It's not looking good for him, though. Anyway, you slice it. He knows Sjow's hand has big minions in it, so if he tries to just clear this board, the big minions are going to be able to come down. Namely, Primordial Drake is one that he can't really deal with, so full clearing the board with something like Volcano or trying to set up a Lightning Storm isn't too appealing because of that. Whereas, also, he does know if he tries to develop the Jade Chieftain, he can run into trouble there. So he chooses to use the Volcano to clear the board and develop the Mana Tide at the same time. So if the big minion that he's worried about, the Primordial Drake, comes down, it still clears it up, though. So, I mean, he's got all bad plays. He's just trying to find the best of the worst options.
Yeah, so the option he went with, given you've got all bad plays, is to sort that out. Get some more cards.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense when you reason it through that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Have more plays for the future and just give up on that turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, Sjow's plays are fantastic. He's got the
Oh,
cards
my
he
goodness.
needs. The Fandrel's able to come down. He's been holding on to this guy forever.
Like a mini auctioneer at this point.
Yeah.
Which is a good job, because
It really sets up for your auctioneer super well. Now he's got 4 Jade Idols in the deck that he's going to be, you know, trying to find with his Gadget Sand, so...
Yeah, and this turn really restricts what Gaara can do, as well as he finally finds all of his Jades, but can only play 1 a turn.
And he wants to be able to answer this Fandrel. And it's super awkward for him to do that. He can't play Aya while answering. He can't play Jade Chieftain while answering. It's been tough for him.
I wonder.
So the next thing is, I mean, Fandrel unanswered now isn't like Fandrel unanswered in the previous meta.
It's
still terrifying.
It's really bad when your opponent has 10 mana to work with.
Sure, I mean, it's not good, but there's only sort of 6 cards, not like 12 that work with it now.
The Jade Idol works with it pretty fantastically, actually.
Yeah.
Because now Sjow can go Gadget Sand and then spells and then hit Jade Idols, which then increases his odds of hitting more Jade Idols. Or
he got the Nourish.
The Nourish is fantastic as well.
Just to clarify, Jade Idol later in the game works well with it, right? Early in the game, actually, you don't want the Fandrel Jade Idol going on sometimes.
It's not as good early in the game as it just like clutters your deck. But once you have the Gadget Sand on the field, you can really make things happen. But he's got some hand size issues, and he wants to squeeze out the Nourish first. So I imagine he likely doesn't go with the Gadget Sand. But it's still an option, because cycling into those Jade Idols with it out is terrifyingly powerful.
The only reason to even take your time here is to not mess it up, because this can be just a game-winning turn now.
Well, the game's won. He's just looking to try and not punt it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's got it here.
Let's not overdraw. Let's get these on the board out my hand, because it's clutter.
Yeah. As long as he keeps it simple, doesn't like overdraw both Jade Idols or something crazy, then he should be fine.
Looks fine to me. And finding a way to keep it there for one more turn. Couldn't deal with it last turn. Why should you be able to deal with it now? Just get rid of the board.
Exactly.
And these Ravens are actually going to be reasonably irritating as well. The main reason he's playing them is just to empty his hand to make room for later. But hey.
Yeah. And to make the Dr. Fandrel. It's important.
Dr. Fandrel with his Raven friends.
Yeah.
Sounds like Sottle.
Now, look at it, devolved perfectly. Now it's Dr. Ironforge with his wisps. The game knows what's going on.
Wow.
It's the Doctor meta.
Being
coming
trolled.
back. Yeah. Ironforge Rifleman, lowest win rate card in all of Hearthstone.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's because it's in a lot of basic decks and it's bad. It teaches new players that this card's terrible. Take it from your deck. And they start being able to compare things and figure out what cards are good.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's an instructional card.
I am bad, don't play me.
Exactly. That's the purpose of that card.
I like it. All games need those, and yeah, Hearthstone has plenty of them at times.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the one.
Yeah, the worst card.
I don't think I'd even have guessed it. Well, now I think about it, I can't think of many worse, but...
Yeah, it's 3 mana 2/2. Deal 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This means there'll be a meta in about 3 months' time now where that is the killer card that everybody plays and bounces and somehow combos for 30 to face with the do 1 to face 30 times.
I would love to see it happen. I would love to see it happen. I think Ironforge Rifleman deserves some time in the sun.
If you're wondering why we're talking about Ironforge Rifleman, by the way, apart from the fact it's on the table, it's because we're waiting for Sjow to go through this auctioneer turn, and he's just bringing the game towards a close, it would seem, unless Gaara has a way.
Yogg-Saron.
Yep.
It could be in the deck. We don't know.
Seems unlikely.
But possible.
But always possible. Deathwing.
Deathwing could be good.
In this Jade Shaman deck.
He needs to play Deathwing and then top deck Alexstrasza the turn after to really have a chance, though. And then he's still a couple points down.
And then we're getting close.
And then we're almost there. Then we got a game, though.
Onyxia? He just gets wiped out by the Primordials.
Right,
Not very good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not much happening.
He's got a huge Jade board, though.
He has.
So...
Yeah, just choosing to go all in, recognizing the conversation we're having right
exactly.
now. As,
he's like,
oh, yeah, it's time to go all in.
You got to do it. But the problem is he doesn't have enough damage before Sjow's Jades just catch up with his and contest them.
Yeah, Sjow on Pretty healthy looking 37 health. Going to buy him plenty of time, you would think. I guess if he can't deal with all of this board now, and then Gaara can pick up the Earthen Spirit next turn, get some more Jades.
More Jades would help. Maybe a Bloodlust, sneak lethal out of nowhere. He's got 13, 18, 19 on the board, plus 12. That's not quite enough.
Not even 37, yeah.
So his Sjow shouldn't really respect or fear Bloodlust at this point. He should just...
He may fear Earthen Scales, though. Earthen Spirit. Getting another 3 or 4 cards back in hand. He may want to deal with some of that.
The Spirit Echo.
Spirit Echo. Why did I call it Earthen Spirit? Probably inventing cards is the best way for Gaara to get out of it.
I mean, at this point, though, his Jades could be larger than Gaara's, even if they get Spirit Echoed. The only one that matters is the Chieftain. So I'd love to see Sjow just extend 3 Jade cards onto the field here. A little bit more defensive with this line.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's worried about killing him. Maybe some like Bloodlust, Flame Tongue, Lightning Bolt action was enough, but...
I think sometimes you see a line that obviously works and don't necessarily find the next one up.
The issue with this line, though, is now, if Gaara did get 2 Jade draws, like one off his Thalanother draw and one off his natural draw, he would have a chance to come in this. He could play both those Jade cards, and now Sjow's Jades would be so far behind that Gaara has a chance. If you just extend the Jades and then just trade your Jade minions into his, I don't see Gaara catching up. So this opens a window of opportunity because you're trying to play around some absurd Bloodlust, Lightning Bolt, Flame Tongues.
And you miss like the obvious, not the obvious, but the more likely real world proposition.
Yeah, where it's just, oh, he plays 2 Jade cards, you know, so.
Next turn, Sjow is going to be able to make his own crazy army of Jades, but he has time. That's what we're saying. He has the time to do that. Credit to Gaara, he's finding ways to generate boards and still keep cards coming. That turn early where he got the Mana Tide down is the card that's given him this opportunity. He drew that 1 extra card whilst clearing. And even though it didn't stick, he was never sticking anything anyway. So he's tried to get a bit fortunate, and he did. And he's managed to make a game of it at least.
So now, how much damage is Bloodlust? Because that's something to worry about for Sjow. So we see 8, 9, 14 plus 15. So it's still 29 plus the weapon is 31. So now Bloodlust could feasibly kill him.
So Jade Behemoth is card number 1 on the list with that in mind. And if you're going to do that, yeah, you might as well just play as many things as possible.
See, I would have liked them to do something similar to this the previous turn.
Right, that makes a lot of
Jade
sense
Behemoth,
now.
Jade Blossom, Jade Idol, and just try and contest the board that way.
Okay, so Lightning Storm, I was saying, might not get any value later, but actually he's got quite a chunk here. Yeah, got some.
Right, it opens up value trades for him. He could face tank the 7, 3, and trade in his Firefly. If he goes for a push right now, and top decks Bloodlust, is it going to be enough damage? That's an important question. The Taunt Totem helps a lot. That forces a lot of mana from Sjow to be able to actually make the Jade trades happen.
Just looking how Gaara, though, things don't well. Obviously, the 8's going face. The rest is kind of a mess. Oh, the 8's not even going to go face. Okay.
He's trying to preserve every single little minion, it looks like. There must be a Bloodlust in here somewhere.
Sure, that makes more sense. If there's not, then this 8 needed to go into the face. If there's a Bloodlust, sure, that's representing so much just by killing things off.
Taking all of the trades here. So by taking all of the trades, I don't see how he has to have the Bloodlust if he's going to connect enough damage. So how much damage does he have set up now? 15 plus 11 is not enough for lethal, but it's a good chunk of it for sure.
Sjow should be able to get a lot out of this Auctioneer turn now, though, because he's going to be able to Earthen Scales at the end of it, which means he can do it just with absolute freedom.
And he's
basically infinite.
He's infinite right now. He's got no cards remaining except Jade Idols.
So this is it. Well, it's not it, but it's going to be Bloodlust into Bloodlust, I think, to get out of this one.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. The Sjow is going to get out of reach of all the potential damage from Gaara and create an unkillable board.
In fact, the Bloodlust isn't even lethal, right? It's only 26, so he doesn't even need to mess with the Earthen Scales if he doesn't want to here, Sjow. He can just put an extra big minion on the board.
I like playing the Earthen Scales because just in case.
Yeah.
You know what?
Double Bloodlust happens.
All right. Well, he's overloaded for 3, so it'd have to be like Bloodlust, double Lightning Bolt. But he's already played 1 Lightning Bolt, so Bloodlust something. I don't know. It's just like, why not, right? Your board is so huge.
You're giving yourself about 11-11 on a why not.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
mean,
situation
look at
you
the
get
amount of
into with
power
this
you
silly
got
deck.
on the board, yeah.
Gaara's had enough of that, and Sjow takes down a convincing, I feel, round 2, 3-1.
Yeah.
He got a bye in the first round, now he's won that, so he's on 2-0, looking good early in the Swiss.
Looking very solid, able to conceal one of his decks as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hey.
just important. Hey, Lothar's back. How you doing, man?
Well, that game was a long one, although it wasn't a 3-2.
Yeah, it
Had
took a while.
some interesting matchups like Contra Warrior versus Contra Warrior.
Well,
sorry,
they were
Taunt
totally
Warrior.
different Taunt Warriors, though.
Yeah.
Even though they're both Taunt Warrior, they're teched out completely differently, and they both serve different purposes in each other's lineups.
Yeah, that's true. And now we have also seen like different playstyles in, well, the Jade decks, right? Gaara is known for more passive play, which I feel like might have betrayed him in this particular match because he was just not pressuring his opponent enough to sustain board control and just take the match in his entirety, right? So he's falling down 3-1. Actually, the entire round, Swiss 2, is almost finished.
Okay.
Wow.
We only have one more match left, which is Sidonia versus D-Rat on string B, and we'll be jumping into that match in just a few seconds. But anything else to add about Sjow and Gaara?
Thought they both played pretty solidly. I think, honestly, there was a few more mistakes from Gaara than there was from Sjow. But it seems like they're both probably going to do pretty well. I mean, they're big-name players, and they came out and they performed all right.
Well, and they also are going into the tournament with not a loss in the first round.
Right, that's
is
a big
important.
deal. You don't want to get losses early in the Swiss format, as it means you're going to verse lower-ranked players, which means it's going to hurt your tiebreakers. So it is kind of bad news for Gaara that he's now going to be facing down only a 1-1 record.
He might still be paired up
Okay.
when someone is like, there's an odd number of players, and we will have the odd numbers of players because, an example, Reynard dropped out after round 1. And also I spoke with, an example, Terrence, your fellow countryman from North America.
Countryman.
He actually lost to round 1, but he wasn't really that afraid because both DreamHacks that he top 8'd, he was losing in round 1 as well.
That's insane.
So maybe it's his good luck charm.
Just
lose
losing
round one
move
and
on.
then there you go. You'll be able to make it through the entire thing.
That's his strategy.
Sure.
Basically, I think that's it. He was really
Next
looking
level.
confident.
Yeah.
Also, we got just information just came in. The secondary match just finished.
Oh,
We
okay.
won for the Rat. And
Congrats to the Rat. Taking down Sidonia. That's a big name to take down.
Yep.
So very accomplished, pretty big accomplishment there. And I mean, the Rat's been a player that's been really close to making it to the top 16s very often. He's made it, I think, a few times, but he's been one of those kind of bubble players. And he's been doing a lot of content creation lately with the Rat Race and bringing his name out there. So good for him. Glad to see him doing well. But Sidonia, he's been having bad luck in DreamHack Swisses, huh?
Wow, you put me on the spot there.
You were the one with the statistics and telling me all about
when
it.
I did the old HCT stats, there were players with bad records, and Sidonia said, call them out. And I'm like, no. I did the DreamHack stats, and one player had 0-6 record, and I'm not going to say who it was.
You're not going to say, but...
Because I don't call out Sidonia on stream.
But, I mean, everybody has their circuits where they do well in.
Exactly.
You can't perform every single event you go to, and Sidonia is a player that's just been killing it lately. I think he's...
In every regard, like streaming,
Oh my
in
gosh,
Hearthstone Global Games, apparently he's the guy who's driving Canada forward as well. He's just doing everything.
Right, yeah. And he had like a huge breakout performance in China this year as well. He defeated the entire Chinese team single-handedly. Like, it was like a gauntlet.
So why do they take the rest of you?
Yeah. Why did they
bother?
even bring them? But like, it's 5 players against 5 players, and they bring up 1 player at a time, and he just knocked them all down one after another.
Yeah, had decent success as well in HCT over time. So, yeah, player very much not on enough people's radar. He's a guy we've got to keep a strong eye on throughout the whole year.
And he represents a very known name in the industry, TSM, a team that, well, branched out of League of Legends, but now has also a competitive player in Hearthstone, right?
Yeah.
We have, of course, we had Kriparian in TSM, we had Trump in TSM formerly, but Sidonia is the first player that competitively plays in Hearthstone. So it's really good to see him, like, having success in some circuits, as you said.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate we didn't get to cast their match.
Well,
but hopefully we get to see both of those guys playing later on today.
Exactly. But now we're going to cut to a commercial break because we're starting round 3 of Swiss in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. This is DreamHack Summer Grand Prix Jönköping.
What if there was a dream?